Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, obviously enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. This is a live stream 1346. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news, and I'll usually pontificate about a topic. And tonight, I'll be sharing tales of Gen Con's past, because Gen Con, here we come. Next week. So first we will tackle the tabletop role-playing game news of the day. But of course, like I said, super casual, just hanging out, having fun. We are certainly not engaged in rocket surgery or anything along those lines. Now, of course, I do want to mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com. for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And then, of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check that box off, you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Keithulu. DB is with us, as is our good friend, the Madman. Also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Histio's with us. Semper Buffos joining us. Zarquan's here. The lovely and talented Miss Sarah D has emerged from the shadows to say hello. She is our other chat moderator. So I think I've said hello to everyone out there. And Histio points out that their books arrived today because I am in the midst of a used game sale, in case you weren't aware of that. Maybe you're tuning in for first, second time. Maybe you haven't watched in a while. So I am trying to move out a lot of role-playing games, board games, and war games. Get them into good homes, and all the proceeds do go to the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. So there is that. And of course, I guess I should mention, if you do check out the sale, which you can find over at thegaminggang.com, just go there. You'll see there's a little ad, little box right there, top right, sort of. Click on that. It'll show you what's still available. And email there for you to reach out as well. So, and of course, if you would like to receive something before Gen Con begins, gotta get the order in probably by Monday. That way Tuesday you could drop it off in the mail. So just letting you know. So Histio, I hope you enjoy the books you ordered, and hopefully you found them to be in pretty pristine condition. Let's see. Keith Ola says used game sale was a great idea. Was. It's still going on. Mammoth says not a great week. Could always be worse. Nothing horrible. Lots of small stuff. Yeah, that sucks when just minor irritants just constantly pile up. I know where you're coming from, where it's not kind of like, it's nothing huge, but it's just one thing on top of another, top of another. It's usually something like you got to have something on the car fixed, and then you find out that the water heater is going on the fritz, and, you know, that kind of stuff just all at one time or right after each other. John Mascola is with us, and Histio points out that, yes, the books they received were in mint condition. Good deal. Enjoy. Anyway, let's dive on into the news, because the Fabula Ultima role-playing game has expanded once again for Need Games, and they have released a bestiary. In fact, it's the first volume. I guess there's multiple volumes planned of the bestiary, and I've got the lowdown. A challenge fit for heroes, and heroes fit for a challenge. Sharpen sword in mind and fight till your last. A fundamental read for new and experienced game masters alike. Fabula Ultima's Bestiary Volume 1 offers a vast gallery of inspiring enemy profiles, advice, and new options. No matter the setting of your campaign, this book will make sure you can bring your favorite JRPG critters to life. It includes over 100 sample enemies with unique abilities and tactics, from classic creatures to strange and wonderful monsters. Over 40 bosses, including the ancient Cardinal Guardians and Zernitra, the dragon goddess. Stretch your creative muscles with quick assembly, an alternative role-based enemy creation method designed for fast efficiency and fully compatible with the core rulebook. Discover the hidden potential of faithful companions and diabolist familiars, and unlock the power of 6 new arcana. New optional rules include weapon-based affinities and a new way to stagger adversaries by hitting pressure points. It is 364 full-color pages featuring awe-inspiring creature illustrations by a varied team of artists from all across the world. The 364-page hardcover is slated to arrive in late summer. Taking a guess, probably September, maybe early September. Hey, for all I know, Need Games is at Gen Con. Might be there at Gen Con. Now, one thing I have seen are a couple of conflicting MSRPs. So I have seen the MSRP $35, and then I've also seen an MSRP saying $48. So I'm not sure which one is going to be correct, but I can tell you right now, the PDF is out. It is at DriveThruRPG, and the price is $19.99. So there is that. Josh Tolbert is joining us in chat. Don't recognize the name, so might be a first or second time visit in chat, so welcome aboard. Josh will be like, dude, I'm here all the time. What the hell's wrong with you? Go get your memory checked, Jeff. Kathy Evans and Ravenclaw, as well as Reading Aid, are all with us tonight. Ravenclaw says, man, I love the Fabula Ultima art. Reminds them of Anima Beyond Fantasy. Yeah, the artwork is pretty interesting. I mean, it really does have that kind of Japanese role-playing game vibe to it. So there is that. Moving right along, there is a new source book for the Expanse role-playing game, which has landed from Green Ronin Publishing. I've got the skinny on. The Crew Companion. Gather your crew, chart your course. In the vast expanse of space, your crew is only as good as the skills, gear, and edges they bring to the fight. From the gritty decks of a Belter merchant ship to the stark corridors of a cutting-edge Martian warship, success depends on having the right people with the right tools, ready for whatever the churn throws at them. The Crew Companion expands your options like never before. It compiles and updates every trade from the Trades of the Expanse series, plus introduces a new one. It delivers specialized backgrounds, new rules, new contacts, new stunts, and even new churn effects for pirates, smugglers, bounty hunters, journalists, scouts, and more. Outfit your characters with new equipment, black market enhancement implants that push the limits of the human body. Choose from a selection of new specialty ships and finance your ship with advanced rules for handling serious wealth that allow high rollers and elite operators to thrive. Whether you're a belter hacker tweaking your gear with custom tech or an earther explorer seeking the best survival gear, this book gives you the edge you need to survive and profit in the blackness of space. Prepare for adventure. The 160-page hardcover will arrive in stores in late August. It's going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. PDF's out right now. It is available over at Drive-Thru RPG for $26.99. I have not had an opportunity to take a peek at the Expanse role-playing game. Love the book series. Wish they had an opportunity to actually do the whole book series as, TV streaming series, but nope. Sorry, gang. I heard they're still kicking around maybe doing it as a movie, but it's a lot. There's a lot to tackle. Plus, there's that time jump if you're familiar with the Expanse. Anywho, but I do recall Sammy reviewed the Expanse role-playing game and gave it a positive review. In fact, I think she may have also reviewed a supplement or two for the Expanse. Maybe she'll review this. I don't know. I'll have to touch base with her. Moving right along, Lazy Wolf Studios has teamed with Bundle of Holding for a money-saving offer featuring 5e Dungeons & Dragons and Tales of the Valiant Adventures, and I got the deets on the deal. Adventure! Beat the heat with this all-new Thrones and Bones bundle featuring Norengard, the tabletop fantasy role-playing campaign setting from novelist and designer Lou Anders at Lazy Wolf Studios. Introduced in Frostborn, the first novel in Lou's Thrones and Bones trilogy, Norengard is a cold, harsh realm inspired by Norse myth and Scandinavian folklore, land beset by undead horrors, marauding trolls, mercurial spirits, and monstrous beasts. In this challenging environment, heroes emerge to perform deeds worthy of the Skalds. Earn your honor exploring the heights of the Ymiran mountain range and the dark Raven's Wood. Risk all to gain the knowledge of rune magic. Contend with powerful Vatir in the mysterious Weird Wood, or brave the caverns of Svartalfheim. I have absolutely no idea how to pronounce the word that I'm looking at. I was probably close, or at least in my head I'm close. You may meet an early demise as a troll's breakfast or a Lindorm's lunch. But if you survive, you can carve out or conquer domains of your own. Funded in a February 2021 Kickstarter campaign and several follow-ups, the Thrones and Bones RPG line originally supported 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, and then later switched to the free and open Black Flag role-playing system, introduced in Tales of the Valiant from Cobalt Press. Each Thrones title is written for one system, but adapts easily to the other. Whether your campaign uses ancestries or lineages, inspiration or luck, alignment or doom, these Thrones and Bones PDFs have what you need to keep cool in the frozen north. Plus, Cobalt Press even provides free Tales of the Valiant conversion guides for you as well. For just $9.95, you'll get all 6 complete titles in the Setting Collection, which has a retail value of $69, as DRM-free PDFs, including the full-color 232-page Norengard Campaign Setting Guide for 5e, along with the Player's Guide to Norengard and the Player's Guide for 5e. So you get a Player's Guide for Tales of the Valiant, as well as one for 5e, the Norengard city maps and 5e character sheets, as well as the introductory adventure, the Apt Gangers Challenge. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $20.56, and yes, that is the current threshold price, I double-checked before we went live, you'll level up and also get the entire adventure collection with 5 more titles worth an additional $83, including the 3-scenario compilation The Benz Trilogy for characters levels 1 through 4, the 7-scenario anthology Sagas of Norengard for levels 3 through 8, and 3 standalone adventures for levels 4 through 7, Fury of the Forsaken, Tomb of the Frost Giant, and Vengeance of the Valraven. These savings will run through the end of the month. That's right. You can save through July 31st. I have shared news about these adventures before. I don't know much about them outside of them being 5e Dungeons and Dragons adjacent. So, kind of interesting. I like the art on the covers. If anybody out there knows much about this, anybody in chat want to chime on in, let us know. Be very cool. But like I said, I've shared news of this before. It may have been one of their Kickstarters that I've shared news about. And let's see. Josh says they're brand new. They just discovered the channel on Tuesday. Well, welcome aboard. Glad you enjoyed what you saw to this point to, induce you to watch. Right? So, must be doing something kind of right. Let's see. J-Man's with us. Danny Gable has popped on in. Harvey Chuckles, Captain Finity, Time Travel Police, Laconic Lane, and Flint Fireforge, another good friend of the outlet. So welcome. Flint Fireforge asks, who are the young punks in the video thumbnail? Yeah, I want to say, I think that picture is Elliot and I circa 2014 at Gen Con, thereabouts. Don't know. I know it's from a while back. I'll give you that much. I know that for a fact. All right, moving right along. There's a new backer kit project which launched for Goodman Games. Now I've got the latest on the Dungeon Crawl Classics, the Book of Funnels, a compilation of 12 or more all-new adventures for the popular zero-level funnel format that players love. Some players hate it, but I don't understand what the hate is for, but still, I have heard from people who are like, oh, absolutely despise funnels. So this project's not for them. So let's talk about the project for everybody else. Whether it's to start a new campaign or run a one-shot, this book has all the adventures you need. Fan favorite authors include Erica Barlow, Julian Burnick, Daniel J. Bishop, Michael Curtis. Ooh, yeah, Michael Curtis. Lou Hoffer, Tim Snyder, Harley Stroh. Yeah, Harley Stroh. Yay. Stefan Surratt and others. Oh, if you're wondering what a funnel is, it's a zero-level adventure. You start with 4 peasants, 4 zero-level characters, and maybe by the time the adventure's over, you're lucky you still have 1. You may have to replace a few as you go. A Dungeon Crawl Classics funnel throws a mob of hapless commoners, farmers, gravediggers, goat herders, Let's not forget the gong farmers. Into a lethal dungeon and lets fate sort them out. They're thrown into a deadly dungeon adventure where most will die horribly. The survivors earn enough experience to level up to first level and choose a class, with the trauma of the funnel shaping who they've become. It's part meat grinder, part character origin story, and all fun, except for the people out there who don't like fun. Each funnel is designed to be played in a single session, making them easy to run as part of character creation. Here's 3 of the adventures you will encounter. One features a vile necromancer whom the residents thought dead, but they've reemerged intent on revenge against those who sought to destroy him. What better payback than to harvest those villagers' bodies for parts? Can the imprisoned villagers escape this lethal lair? An aging lord seeks to recover the remains and relics of his old adventuring partners from a cave system once held sacred by the legendary witch queens. A crowd of commoners accepts the task in return for a share of the riches, but the dead do not always slumber deeply. And then the player characters awaken in a labyrinth, seemingly adrift in the void of space. Otherworldly dangers lurk in every room as they navigate the cosmic structure. Little do they know that this is all part of the designs of the Starkthons. Their only hope of returning home is to decipher the labyrinth's secrets and overcome the alien menaces lurking there. And lots more. This project is fully funded. In fact, it has already hit some stretch goals, which are adding additional adventures to the book. I think last time I looked, they were like, at least from my calculation, they should be at like 18, 19 adventures. So quite a bit. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover of the Book of Funnels with a PDF for a pledge of $35.99. If you want to just secure the PDF alone, you can do so with a pledge of $26.99 through August 14th. Fulfillment on the Book of Funnels is expected in the first quarter of 2027. Not a bad turnaround. Not too shabby, especially if it's earlier in the quarter. Of course, if it's into March, well, it's still, hey, it's less than a year. Gotta like that. Gots to like that. All right, let's see. What's cooking in chat? So, the Madman. So I guess somebody's asking why they're called the Madman. Laconic Lane said, whenever they see Madman, I think of the Cobalt Press one-shot encounter. All right, let's see. Laconic Lane said, go read Lou Anders' White Warg Accord adventure. It's maybe his best work. Maybe a perfect adventure. Oh, whoa. That's quite a claim. Keith Ulu says, Dungeon Crawl Classics puts the fun in funnel. Danny Gable says, funnel. Fun is in the name. I agree. But I see where some folks don't like it. If you are somebody out there who devotes 5 hours of your time into your backstory for your character that you're bringing over to your friend's house for a new campaign, no, you are not going to like the funnel because you don't have much control, if any, over the character you're going to play. And that kind of pisses some people off. Funnel adventures tend to be more accepted by people who enjoy kind of an old school. They don't have to be into the OSR, but they have to enjoy an old school experience as opposed to, oh, it's a collaborative story that we're creating sort of approach. Max Apocalypse is with us in chat, as is 245 Trioxin. Very nice. We got a good chat rocking and rolling tonight. All right, let's wrap up the news. The latest supplement for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, otherwise referred to as WIFRIP, has arrived in PDF from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. Here's what I know about Sylvania, the Cursed Country. The Cursed Country of Sylvania is the darkest corner of the Empire. Its peoples cowed and superstitious, and the land blighted and dangerous. Though supposedly defeated, the threat of the vampire count still looms large in the minds of the frightened populace, who hang witchbane from the doors and hurry home before dark. Venturing there is not advised, but there are opportunities to be found in the darkest of places. This is a comprehensive guide to the cursed county of Sylvania, its peoples, history, and towns, as well as villages. New descriptions of iconic Sylvania locations, such as Castle Drakenhof. Castle. I can't even pull this off. Castle Hasselhoff. Castle Hasselhoff. What? It just popped in my head as I read that. Drakenhof. Hasselhoff. Delicious burger. You'll also learn more about the capital of Waldenhof. A lot of Hoffs floating around out here. And the feculent marshes of Helfen. All new travel tables for traversing the Sylvanian wilderness, from the treacherous roads to the sodden marshes and fens. You'll find several gloomy Sylvanian patrons, including a legendary vampire hunter, a young Shishian wizard, taking a guess at that, and the Elector Count of Stirland, Albrecht Hoft Anderson. Hoff. Now, there's no Hoff at the end of it. A haunted selection of new Sylvania NPCs with both role-playing advice and stat blocks for each, including sinister Von Karsten tax collectors, vampiric nobles, strange marsh druids, and the dour priests of Moor. I gotta mention, a copy of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay core rulebook will be required to utilize this. You can pre-order a hard copy with PDF for an MSRP of $39.99. If I remember correctly, it clocks in at 98 pages. Expected release of the hard copy, hardcover copy, I guess I should say, is expected early next year. The PDF alone is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Sadly, I have not received a PDF from Cubicle 7 Games. I'm sure I will. I gotta be honest, and I'm gonna talk to the gentlemen, both Dominic and TS, when I see them at Gen Con. I'm gonna ask how things are ironing out as far as their PR/marketing person, because they've moved on from the person that was not too sharp, but I think it's kind of being shared by two people. Don't know. Max Apocalypse, Sylvania, we had one of their TVs once. I almost made a television joke, and I thought to myself, you know what? How many people are going to catch on to that? Because Sylvania's been gone for a while, I think. Depending on watch, they're like still manufacturing TVs. I don't know. I have no idea. All righty. Yes, Draken Castlehoff. Castlehoff, where you find Tasselhoff and Hasselhoff. Istio says he's the Knight Rider. DB says, Wifrip Slope is very slippery, greased right up like a pig. You can't have just one. Istio says, very true. They've got every 4th edition book Started with just the core book, and then it got out of hand. Hey, something I always like to point out, if you're interested in getting into Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, number one, the starter set is excellent. It is one of the best starter sets out there, and it's got a good amount of adventuring in it too. So it isn't just some single session or dual session adventure contained within. You'll get a good amount of use out of it. And every so often, at least twice a year, we will see either Fanatical, Humble Bundle. I don't know if I've seen it on Bundle of Holding. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But either Fanatical or Humble Bundle will have a Wifrip bundle, which will be just an amazingly rocking deal. In fact, I could have swore if you go to fanatical.com right now and look at their book bundles, there might still be a Wifrip bundle that's running. And it, if I remember correctly, it does not include the famed Enemy Within campaign. But it's also a super easy way to get a bunch of Wifrip PDFs for like $15. So you might want to take a peek. Down now. Ravenclaw says they wish, I assume it's supposed to be wish, that Cubicle 7 would divorce the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game from the end times and not have the world blow. They could create a huge campaign like The Enemy Within to stop the end times. Yeah, I could see that, but it's they're at the mercy of Games Workshop for the most part. So Cubicle 7 Games has been a very good steward of Games Workshop licenses. So, you know, they have to stay on board with what Games Workshop wants. There you go. Histio says it's still on at Fanatical for 2 weeks. And I'll tell you what, if you are going to go check that out, swing on over to thegaminggang.com first. Do a search for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. You will find a news piece. It'll have a link to that bundle. If you use that link, it is an affiliate link because I am an affiliate of Fanatical. So I would get a little piece of the action from that. DB says Cubicle 7 has done some great stuff with Wifrip, top tier. Masters and Legends is with us in chat. Says the starter set is on sale now at Drive-Thru RPG. Just about everything for Wifrip should be on sale now over at Drive-Thru because of the Xmas in July sale that's going on. In fact, since we're talking about Drive-Thru RPG, don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, any of the numerous One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission on most sales. And all those commissions really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you're watching live, taking part in chat, be sure to hit the little heart, the little, I don't know what it is. Is it a bouquet of flowers or something? Or is it supposed to be like a birthday horn, noisemaker kind of thing? 100%, by all means, click on those, show a little engagement in the video. And speaking of engagement, if you're watching on a mobile device and you got some extra hype points, by all means, sprinkling a few on the video. It's Always appreciated. Of course, if you enjoy the Gaming Gang and feel that this is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, got a couple of other ways that you can support the outlet. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Yummy. And you can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. And I will mention, starting in August, probably around somewhere between the 10th and the 15th, Patreon members at the $10 tier and higher are going to receive a PDF every month. I can't necessarily tell you what they're going to be, but they'll certainly be worth your while. I'll put it that way. Anyway, you'll find more information if you go take a look down in the show notes. Also, in those show notes below, you can find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. All right, let's see if I said hello to everybody who's popped into chat. I think I have. If I have not, I apologize. I always do my best to try to say hello to everybody when they're in chat. Something else I also do my best to do is address our Patreon members and thank them on every live show. So big tip of the cap to Ben Oathwaite, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Peaceful Porcupine, William King, the Tabletop Scholar, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Kevin King, Game Cat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Far Adrift, Pete Stracklich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, The Madman, and Flint Fireforge. Thank you very, very kindly. So, tonight's topic is Gen Con, here we come! Because this is the last live stream until I get back from Gen Con. So we're going to talk a little bit about my history with Gen Con, share some stories of Gen Con with you. If anybody's watching who has like maybe questions about what Gen Con is like, I can probably bring you up to speed. Got to keep in mind that I do experience conventions a little bit differently than people who go and purchase their badges, right? Because I've got a press pass. But yeah, if you got some questions, I can tackle it, and I will share some hopefully entertaining stories of the past from my adventures at Gen Con. But before we do that, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Now a brief intermission in which the Campbell kids discover that Mother knows best.
Good. Johnny came calling one Sunday. The girl of his dreams was so sweet. She served him some wonderful dishes, but he found the meal incomplete.
No soup?
Good day, Irene, good day. Goodbye, he sighed. To get the punch of soup for lunch,
I'll seek another bride.
oh, what a wailing and sighing.
Oh, what shall I do, Mother dear? Just reach for some soup from the soup shelf. You'll soon have your Johnny back here.
Did someone say soup?
Soup and a salad delicious. Soup and a sandwich is great. Soup for lunch is nutritious.
Yes, you are my favorite date.
Now they're a family, one happy bunch, and every day you'll hear them say,
Let's have soup for lunch. Good.
How's this for lunch or light supper tomorrow? Lean, tender pieces of beef, plus juicy golden egg noodles and rich, full-flavored beef stock. That's Campbell's Beef Noodle Soup, a grand lunch or light supper.
We're here to persuade people to drink more Wilkins coffee.
What's the club for?
To get their attention.
What's up, Mike?
Oh, they're not anything up, Bugs. Nobody here but us monkeys.
Make friends with Kool-Aid. Make Kool-Aid with friends. For brew that never ends. Make friends with Kool-Aid.
Make some Kool-Aid soft drink mix. You can always use another friend. Ah!
What would you give to live forever? For Melissa, it started here.
What is it, child?
They're coming for me.
Burn the witch! Burn the witch!
Then because of the touch of Satan, it started again here. It could have been a love story, but the touch of Satan turned it into a nightmare.
There'll be no talk. We'll have the witch.
Over my dead body?
So be it.
Just what kind of witchcraft do you do, huh?
Oh, I bewitch the birds into singing and the sun into coming out.
A story of exorcism that could happen to your next-door neighbor. Or maybe you yourself have felt the touch of Satan.
Unit 1 or Unit 3, do you read?
Melissa, if all this were true, that would make you 127 years old.
There is no escape from the touch of Satan.
Melissa, come on!
Ask yourself, what would you give to live forever? But first, share the experience of the touch of Satan.
It was the touch of Satan. Awful movie. Okay, so this just popped in my head as that trailer was playing. I remember when I was a kid, they had the ABC, they used to do like the ABC Friday night movie or ABC Wednesday night movie, whatever day it was. And I remember back in the 70s, like satanic movies were a thing. Even on like films that were made for TV. Because what would happen a lot would be something that was made for our network television would also include stuff that could not be shown on network TV here in the US, so they could sell those films overseas. So there are people who lived outside the United States who saw stuff and it was like, that was a movie that I saw in a theater, and it was like, well, here it was on TV. Anyway, I bring this up. There was a movie, it was about some sort of like devil worshiper or like voodoo or something. And the villain would make cookies of people and then like, you know, like break the cookie and that would cause harm to that person, right? And I'll never forget the end of the movie is somehow there's a cookie made for them. And the house, I want to say the house starts on fire. So of course the cookie inside the oven ends up getting burned up. And at the end, the villain's like, ah. Did I imagine this? I know I did not imagine it, but we're probably looking at somewhere around maybe 70, 74, 73, 74, because I was not very old. Anyway, so kind of weird. All right. John Mascola says, awful movie. I believe it. We've got a few more people who popped into chat. We have got Old Man Milo returning once again. Good to see you. And Mike from Utah has returned as well. Good to see you. Talking about they haven't been able to get on too often lately. Well, at least we get to see you for tonight. Cookie Voodoo Dolls, too funny. Yeah, it was weird. It was very weird. Zarquan asks, House of Evil? I don't know if that's in response to what I seem to recall or if that's something else. Wallona's Cave has joined us again. Welcome. Anywho, tonight's topic is about Gen Con. Gen Con, here we come. And yes, the thumbnail is Elliot and I. We were in the Flying Frog, I think it's Flying Frog Productions is the official title. And the guy, I can't remember his last name. First name is Scott. He's like one of the partners for Flying Frog. Took that picture for us. And I want to say it's from about 2014, maybe 2015. I could find out if I dug through our video stuff. So, but yes, somebody had asked, who were those like young punks? Yeah, because it's a picture that's got to be at least 10 years old. Probably a little older than that. Wallona's Cave said, can't wait to get Sylvania. Bagel Man is joining us for the first time in a while. Good to see you. Thanks for coming back. Glad we didn't scare you away. All right. So, before we get into the stories, I guess Wallona's Cave's asking a question here. I'm going to tackle that. I will let you know who I've already got scheduled for interviews at Gen Con. Now, just because something's scheduled doesn't necessarily mean it comes to fruition, because sometimes things get screwed up with people's schedules and stuff like that. But I am going to talk with Brian Holland at Chaosium Inc. So I'm not going to be interviewing Mob or Rick Mintz, because it's usually Rick that I talk to. I'll say hi to him. I always say hello to him at any convention I see him at. I may not necessarily interview him, but got that set up. I'm also going to talk to Chris Birch over at Modifius Entertainment. How's about that? And I am going to see if we can get back on board with Modifius Entertainment, because we were sharing reviews of stuff. I reviewed almost the entire Dune line that came out and liked it. I know I reviewed the 2 Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 core books. See, my problem with Achtung Cthulhu and pretty much any like Lovecraftian World War I or II or Vietnam or any game that takes on a historical conflict, you got to have some leeway, right? So as far as like Achtung Cthulhu, it's like, okay, so the Battle of the Bulge still is the Battle of the Bulge. So, D-Day, the Normandy invasion is still the Normandy invasion. So the reality is it's kind of, it feels like the Secret War is just, kind of like a sideshow, which I guess it's supposed to be, but still it's sort of like, doesn't really feel like it matters in the great scheme of things. That is not what I'm going to discuss with Chris Birch, though. We will probably talk about Star Trek Adventures, because I haven't interviewed Chris. It's probably been 10 years, maybe, thereabouts. So it's been quite a while. Ellie and I are also going to attend the 2027 Vision keynote for Dungeons & Dragons. You may know at Gen Con, Wizards of the Coast has taken over the Indianapolis Ballroom and Repertory Theater. So I think it's 6 floors. All the building has been, the available space in the building is being utilized for D&D. It's the D&D Tower. So Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be checking out the keynote. After that, I'm probably going to meet up with Tiger Wizard from Exalted Funeral. I have a cocktail or two. I don't know if Exalted Funeral has an exhibit area. So they didn't last year. So I really didn't do an interview. DBS, Haywire Modern, anybody know it? Yeah, that's the new miniatures game. Yeah, it's like skirmish level, right? I can ask about that. I certainly can. Cobalt Press, although our good friend Wolfgang Bauer will not be at Gen Con. He's got a family trip. So I am going to talk with Dot. I think her last name is Stephenson. I don't think it's Stevenson. Who I know. I mean, I've said hello to her and that. I haven't interviewed her, so that's going to be something new. And of course, I'm gonna tease Wolfgang for not being at Gen Con. If you've seen my interviews for Gen Con or any convention, really, especially if I know the person, I kind of fuck around. I joke around and stuff. I do a legitimate interview, though. I mean, I got to be honest. I kind of think my interview skills are fairly decent because I actually follow up on questions. I ask a question, get an answer. I follow up on it. I also try to know something about who I'm talking to and the company they represent. I'm just saying, a lot of people do these interviews and it's like, ask question, or it's just like, oh, so what's coming out? It's like, oh, we got this game, blah, blah, blah. Something else I want to mention. I have this new pet peeve. I'm going to drop an F-bomb. I fucking hate the people who have like the Go, forget what the hell it's from Rode. I have them. The little wireless microphones, right? That you can plug a lavalier into, which is what I do. Or there is a microphone on them and there's even like a little puff, like when it doesn't work that great, but I hate watching people holding them. And this is a thing now. And you see a lot of podcasters do this. They hold it and they're talking into it. It's like, hey, stupid. The reason why it's made that way is so you don't have to fucking hold it. But it's like, oh, well, I saw somebody in a video, they're holding it, so I better hold it. Grouchy Lenny's popped on and said, wireless mic on a spatula? Yeah, that's fine. That doesn't bother me that much. Because it's just somebody who probably only has the one mic, so they got to go back and forth. That's why it's on the spatula. I have had, when I did my interview with Monty Cook Games last year, I had two subjects which I did not realize I was going to have. So I gave them one wireless mic for them to share. So when somebody has to hold it for that, I don't have a problem. When it's somebody who's shooting like a video and they're in their own home or studio or whatever, and they're standing there holding it, it looks absolutely ridiculous. It's like the whole purpose of these things is so you don't have to have it in your hand. It's not because the sound quality is fantastic. Because if you want good sound quality, you really do need to have a physical microphone or a very expensive lavalier. Anyway, DB says, I need a boom man. We had a boom man one year, amazingly enough. The Man says they don't see Exalted Funeral in the exhibit hall. Now, I didn't think they would be. So that means I probably will not have an interview with Tiger Wizard. Anyway, so Cobalt Press, Monty Cook Games. In fact, I think I'm going to be talking to Bruce R. Cordell. I think that's his last name. I interviewed him and Shanna Germain about the upcoming Cypher, which I wonder if that's a Gen Con release. So we got that. Yes, Cubicle 7 Games. I'm going to interview. I'm not sure if I'm doing TS and Dominic or just Dominic. I have no idea. But I am scheduled to talk with Cubicle 7 Games. And the question was, am I going to ask about WIFRIP 5e? Yes. Another question I have, I'm going to ask, is if there are any plans for them to share a conversion guide for the old world to WIFRIP or WIFRIP to the old world. Because I know there are a lot of people out there who are kind of, like myself, I thought the old world pretty cool. And it's less crunchy than WIFRIP. It's kind of a streamlined WIFRIP, especially the magic system where it's kind of like on the fly for a lot of it, not all of it. Anyway, I am going to ask if they've got any plans for a conversion guide because I have had so many people email me. We've seen comments in chat before about it too. People would love to run, say, like The Enemy Within with the old world. They want that time frame, that campaign, because you got to realize there's tons of stuff out there for WIFRIP 4E. There isn't a hell of a lot out there for the old world yet, although they just released the Adventure Supplement. I talked about that before. Mike in Utah says it's like walking up to the TV and holding the remote at the screen while pressing the buttons. Am I going to talk to Rob from Pulp Hummock? I have no plans. He has not reached out to me. I had no idea that he's going to be there. I really haven't studied the exhibitor map or the exhibitor list. For one, the exhibitor list, the way it's presented is you type in a search and it'll show you. So I didn't see anything where the listing is like all of the exhibitors in alphabetical order. I'm sure that will be in the program once they put that online. But for the most part, no. Now, if I see him exhibiting there, I will say hello. Because I interviewed him at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. So I'm trying to remember if that was an interview that actually made it onto their website, or if that was one that took place on the first day. Also talking to Tomas from Free League Publishing and Steven Chenault from Troll Lord Games. Also may interview Ken Hite to talk Trail of Cthulhu second edition from Pelgrane Press. Problem there is Pelgrane Press is not exhibiting. So I've reached back out to my contact at Pelgrane Press to find out where do they want to do the interview, because, you know, you can't just set up and start interviewing people and shooting video anywhere you want. So for the most part, like when we're doing, like if I do an interview with Cobalt Press, I have to be in, the camera has to be on the section of floor that they have rented. I cannot be out on the aisle because that's, you know, that's everybody else. It's weird, but they are fairly, I've heard people getting bitched out at for it. And I have yet to ever have any issues with anybody at Gen Con, nor do I want to. So I've reached out to see if they're going to, if they've got something set up where we can meet up, even if it's where they're running Pelgrane Press games, you know, where we can sit down and shoot the interview. So that is also in the works. And I would take a guess, probably, you know, a couple more. I don't try to do too many interviews anymore at Gen Con. Number one, because I just don't want to run around and have that kind of hassle anymore, right? So I try to focus on companies that have been very good to the outlet. I'll put it that way. And then from time to time, might do an interview with somebody who's reached out and things like that. So that's what we've got planned. Okay, so I will get into some stories in just a moment or two. Let's see what's going on in chat here. Zoden's with us. Greenfield Gray Skies has jumped on in. I believe it might be a first-time visit in chat. Monty Cook, I have high hopes for Jewel in the Sky / Mega Dungeon. I don't even pay their, I guess it's play their game, but they're going to convert it to 5.5. Yeah, if it's designed for Cypher, it shouldn't be too difficult to convert to just about any role-playing game. I like Cypher. I think Cypher is well done. Okay, I take that back. I like the Cypher system. I have not seen Cypher. That's the new release. That's the new edition that's coming out. I like it. I think part of the issue with a lot of people with that role-playing game, even myself included, not exactly sure about ciphers, right? Because ciphers are supposed to be like one-shots, something you get to use once. And it's kind of like, okay, but like magic spells, right? So magic spells are supposed to be ciphers, but they're always like one and done. Like I said, it's a little confusing. So I'm hoping this new edition kind of irons that out a little bit, because I know I'm not the only one who's maybe not necessarily confused, but uncertain is probably the word I would utilize. Anyway, Greenfield Gray Sky says they probably aren't there, but someone needs to talk to Castle Grief about their new pirate game. New pirate game. We got Pirate Borg. Who needs a new pirate game? I'll probably say hello to Luke and Tyler Stratton. Probably won't be doing an interview with them. I might end up having a drink with them, but am I going to be stopping by for Deathbringer? Asks 245 Trioxin. They said, I think Professor DM is going. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's there. He's going to be there. All depends. Depends on what Steven wants to do. I don't know. One thing I will point out, I am not huge on interviewing people about their Kickstarters. I like to talk about stuff that is in production or available now, or, you know, it's coming to stores next month, as opposed to something that is still in the financing phase. That's not to say I wouldn't do an interview talking about Deathbringer. But I am just pointing out that I don't do my interviews so that it's just like a hype fest. I try to do interviews where it's really an interview, where I'm asking questions, following up on answers, things like that. The Man says, sounds like Shane Hensley of Pinnacle Entertainment Group is going to be at Gen Con for the first time in several years. Wow, that's pretty cool. I have not set up anything with Pinnacle Entertainment Group. So, another Bagel Man's asking about interviewing Professor DM about Deathbringer. I'm completely open to it. I'm just saying that would probably be done through Steven. Flint Fireforge says, seeing you interview Kelsey Dion would be cool. Yeah. Would have been nice if you got to see that interview I did at Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. Okay, you know, I tend to be as transparent as I possibly can. So you may recall last week I mentioned it on one of the streams about how, you know, I asked multiple times to at least just get the files from those interviews. I would actually go through and I would correct the white balance and do as much as I could to make the audio better. Not much I can do as far as like the actual video quality. And I said, you know, I asked multiple times, get these files. And it was just like, whatever. Right. So I was like, yeah. So of course I get to be the guy who looks like an asshole because people sat down with me for interviews, including Kelsey. And it was a fun interview too. We had a good time. We were laughing. So anyway, someone else affiliated with Paige reached out to me and they said, hey, you know, I can probably get those files for you this coming weekend. And I just responded, no, don't bother. It's like 6 months later, I'm going to post these interviews. No, fuck no. Now, this other person who reached out to me, I have absolutely no issues with. He's super nice, very, very good guy. But I'm just pointing out, it's like, like, no, why would I do that? Why would I go through the trouble now? What, so they could use that to promote, you know, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo 4? No. Quantos has joined us. The Man said they were surprised to hear that Clint Black was going, considering Jody had passed away. Yeah, on one hand, I was kind of surprised. And then on the other hand, I also realized that there's a lot of flux going on in our hobby right now. And there are companies that are in financial straits because that whole diamond distributor fiasco that aren't as public about it as Paizo Inc. has been. So I could see going there. I'm not sure if the Carolina game tables are also, because I know that's another company that Clint created. So, Reading Aid asked, did Pinnacle Entertainment get sold recently? Not that I'm aware of. Clantos is saying, go Tigers. Hey, you know, yeah. I'm surprised the Tigers have done as poorly as they have. But hey, you know, they're on a hot streak. Didn't they have like the last month, the best record in baseball, something like that? So yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't mind. Cubs got a decent lead as far as the wild card goes. Now they could go right down into the toilet again like they did for that 1 month, but I don't think that's going to be the case. All right. So Clanto said, why won't they just give you the files? Be good publicity. Yeah, but it's there's other things that I like I said, I try to be as transparent as I can. But there are like inside baseball things that I'm like, no, I better not. I better not. Sort of like, yeah. All right. Anyway, Greenfield Gray Sky says, congrats to Kelsey on the baby, but man, that timing was terrible. Finish that darn Kickstarter. Spoken like a true gamer. Okay, so let's see. Hey, Kevin R. Smith's popped on in. Said they've had the show on in the background. So Kevin R. Smith says their understanding is Professor DM's going to be at the Roll for Combat booth this year and at most cons for the foreseeable future. Yeah, of course. So Flint Fireforge says they should let you co-record on your own equipment. I'm not dealing with them anymore. So one and done is basically it. Let's see. So there's something. Clanto says Roll for Combat's been pretty public about it. I don't know what they're talking about it. The Man says they believe Clint had to give up the Carolina game tables due to all the medical bills incurred. No one should go bankrupt due to medical bills. I agree with you on that. Yep. So, not to get political, but I'm going to get political for a second. What I don't get are the people here in the U.S. who talk about how terrible healthcare is up in Canada and how terrible it is in England because socialized medicine. Oh, socialism. Oh, scary word. It's not as scary if you actually know the definition. But anyway, I digress. But weirdly enough, I never hear people from Canada complain about their medical coverage. I don't hear people from the UK complain about their medical coverage and their lack of out-of-pocket expense or their prescriptions costing them like $1 or £1, I guess, €1, whatever. So yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Okay. Talking about Diamond. So it's Paizo, Green Ronin, RFC. Oh, Roll for Combat. Yeah, okay, right, yeah. Yeah, being vocal about it? Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. So Quantos was talking about the Diamond distributor bullshit. I will throw one thing out there about Diamond. I have talked to some publishers off the record, I guess I will say, and they got their stuff prior to the filing because Diamond kept telling everybody, hey, we got problems. And some companies just were like, oh, well, they'll figure it all out. And other companies were like, no, give us our stuff. And that was before the bankruptcy filing. And I think some of them even got stuff back after the filing for bankruptcy, but before they claimed like all the stuff that was basically being sold for on consignment was their property to be able to sell to pay off their debts. Anyway. So, MX Poglip says, you'll find complainers everywhere. Oh, yeah, of course. This is what you won't find is people going bankrupt from a hospital visit. Yeah. Yes. All right. So we kind of chatted a little bit about that longer than I thought I would, but that's okay. So let's talk about Gen Con, some of my memories of Gen Con. So the first Gen Con I went to, as far as I can remember, taking a guess at the date, and of course I can't ask Elliot because his memory is terrible. You know, I joke about it all the time where Elliot could tell you in great detail Call of Cthulhu adventures that happened 40 some years ago, but he can't tell you what happened for lunch. So Grouchy Lenny says 1987. Yes, because I believe that was a trivia question I had floated out. So the reason why I say it's 1987 is it was Milwaukee. So also, I was not old enough to drink. So at that point in time, Elliot too, we almost never got carded. In fact, it probably wasn't very long after this that we were regulars at this one bar. Yeah, in fact, the bar manager, because Elliot's 6 months older than I am. So when I turned 21, we were at this bar, right, celebrating. And the bar manager, who actually became a good friend of ours, asked how old I was. And I said, I'm 21. And he said, well, kid, he was like, what? He looked at Elliot, he goes, how old are you? He goes, I turned 21 6 months ago. So Kevin R. Smith asks, wasn't the drinking age still 18 in 87? No, it was not. I missed it by a year. I don't recall if Elliot was part of the grandfather on that, the grandfather law or whatever they call when they grandfather you in because they can't take away a right that you already had. But no. And I was like, damn. But the thing is, we went up to Wisconsin all the time. Didn't stop us. Anyway, so that's why I remember it was 1987. And I don't recall Elliot and I going for all 4 days. In fact, the first time Elliot and I were at Gen Con for all 4 days was Indy. Prior to that, we would usually do something along the lines of maybe like the Friday, Saturday, maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, because we were gamers, right? So I know we were up there in 87, and it was kind of funny because even though we were gamers, we didn't really look like we were gamers. And you got to remember, 1987, you know, geekdom is not cool, right? And I remember he and I walked over to some like bar restaurant to have lunch. And there were people who were walking around in costume and stuff like that. And the waitress asked us, because we took our badges off, right? And just shoved them in our pockets. And the waitress had asked us, well, you know, what's up with all these people walking around in, wizard hats and stuff like that? We were like, we don't know. I don't know. Whoa. And then, of course, come like 7 o'clock, whatever, we'd go and, go hit like the Riverwalk. Go have dinner, have some drinks, go to the Safe House, which is a pretty famous secret bar that's up in Milwaukee, still around too. Somebody just told me about that. A friend of mine I went to high school with said, yeah, it's still there. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty wild. And it was also kind of interesting. I've mentioned this before, that when Gen Con was in Milwaukee, that you would have people who wouldn't get a hotel room or motel room. They would simply sleep in the park. And then there was an area in the convention center. It was a hall that if you were going from one thing to another thing, you had to go through this hall. And by Saturday morning, there was already this stink in the air. I coined the term confunk. And it was so just this, because people would sleep in this hallway. And I was like, oh my gosh. And you would like be trying to like move as quickly as you could with, you'd catch your breath, hold your breath, and be like, Yep. All right. So some other Milwaukee Gen Con memories. I know we were there in 93 because that was when Magic the Gathering came out. And we remember people were chirping about it a little bit, but it wasn't a thing. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think Magic the Gathering premiered at Origins back when it was in Dallas of that year. But I don't think they were actually selling a lot of product. And then I think Richard Garfield and his wife drove to Gen Con, and they were stopping at game stores along the way to demo it. So 93, we were there. And I want to say, I think that was the year that I won this racing game tournament. I've told this story before as well. So I'll try to tell it as quickly as I can. Ellie and I are bopping around. We got nothing to do. We don't have anything scheduled. And somehow we end up in this racing game. And I think it was based off of, what is it, like Cleveland Grand Prix or something like that. You played cards, and like your cars were like different colors, and like it would show like, oh, green moves this far and red moves this far and brown moves this far, whatever, right? And then you could like draft behind. It was actually kind of cool. So we had generic tickets, so we got into it and played the race. I think it was like 2 laps or whatever. And I won. And the guy said, oh, well, you qualify for the finals tonight, like 7 o'clock, whatever. And he said, there's a trophy and everything else. Well, oh, okay. So we end up going, and I'm going to play in the tournament. And Elliot was there, and one of the people who was supposed to be there didn't show up. So Elliot got to play in the tournament too. So anyway, so the race runs, I win. And if I remember right, I think Elliot came in second. And I was like, when I saw the trophy, I was like, are you kidding me? No joke. The trophy was like 4.5 feet tall. No kidding. So I'm walking through the Milwaukee Convention Center with this big ass trophy. People must have thought I had won some sort of, like, maybe I won the first Magic the Gathering tournament or something like that. May have been 94, because I think by then Magic was a thing. Oh man, was it a thing. I remember the year after it came out, 94, we're at Gen Con, and everybody and their mother has a collectible card game, and we're demoing them, and they were just absolutely dog shit. Just about every single one. And I remember Elliot bought a bunch of decks for, I'll never forget the name, Wyvern was the name of it, because he thought that was going to take off. Well, unlike a Wyvern, it did not. And I swear, I think he still has all of those decks. I wouldn't be shocked if they were maybe worth something now. John Mascola says, the Riverwalk. Amazing place to play Vampire LARP. Good times. Grouchy Lenny says, you won at D&D. Yeah, that was, my big trophy. I am the Dungeons & Dragons winner. Something else I remember at Gen Con up in Milwaukee, I played my first Columbia Games war game. First Fog of War block game. It was Sam Grant. Had absolutely zero clue about what, I knew it was a Civil War game, obviously, but I had no idea what the rules were or whatever. And this guy was probably in his 40s who I was playing. So he explained the rules and everything. I was like, oh, okay. And I smoked him like a cheap cigar. Took Richmond an hour into the game. I was like, all right, okay. Max Apocalypse says Wyvern's not worth anything. Adventures Distribution had boxes of that, like Landfill had copies of Atari's E.T. Yeah, I'm just saying. Then there was one of these years, Elliot saw a Klingon, what is it called? Like a Battla, whatever, It's like the Klingon sword thing. And he just couldn't get it out of his head. And I swear, we swung by there 5 times for him to take a peek at it. And he's like, oh, man, I really want that. I really want that. And I think it was like $300. So, yes, Cthulhu and Grouchy Lenny have, the Batleth. Thank you. And he's like, I got to get it. I got to get it. And I didn't say anything. So I learned my lesson years and years ago. If Elliot wants to buy something, just let Elliot buy it. Or if Elliot doesn't want to buy something, don't try to make him buy it. Just be like, yeah, okay. Whatever. So anyway. Yes, the Shadow Fist collectible card game. Yeah, we demoed that. I remember demoing that at Gen Con. And yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. So anyway, finally, Elliot, this is his exact words. Elliot looks at me and he says, what the fuck am I even thinking? What the hell would I do with that? I'm like, I don't know. So with Elliot, I went to Gen Con in Milwaukee 3 or 4 times. I also went up once with my fiance at the time, but we only went for a day. And then another time I went with a friend of mine, and I actually went up there to auction off my 15 millimeter American Civil War miniatures that I had painted and based and everything. And I had something along the lines of 1600 miniatures I had painted. And that was back when you could just bring stuff in. You didn't have to pre-register and stuff like that. And I also believe at that time, it was still a 24-hour auction. So, I remember midnight, 1 o'clock, popping in just to see what was going on in the auction. It was like, kind of like a joke fest, people goofing off and stuff like that. And so I sold that, and I thought it was kind of cool because they actually mentioned it was coming up. They had it in a case, glass case. And they were like, hey, we normally don't see something like this come up for auction. So you might want to go take a peek at it. And it ended up going for $3,200, which was a little bit more than I had paid for the minis and paints and stuff like that. And the thing was, my friend Ed, who I had played Fire and Fury with, the Civil War miniatures system, had moved out to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he was the only guy who played it. Elliot didn't play it. None of my other friends, like Paul didn't play miniatures and stuff like that. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do? I got boxes of these things. Just going to lug them around every time I move. And I'm like, nah, I might as well just go sell them. So anyway, so that was another Gen Con. So I want to say I went to 5 or 6 Gen Cons in Milwaukee. And then I did not go to Gen Con again until it was in Indianapolis, and we actually had the outlet. So we kicked off the gaming gang in September of 2010. Didn't let anybody know that we existed until October of 2010. So then when people came to the website, they're like, what are all these articles? Where did this? How did I miss this? Right? See, the mistake people make when they start a website, especially if it's kind of like a news site or blog site, with postings, they let people know right away. So people go and check it out, and they're like, okay, well, that was an interesting article. That's all that's there. Not coming back. So anyway, so yes, it was 2010 and it was all audio. We did audio interviews. And we ran all over the place doing interviews. And we just interviewed anybody. The following year, we started doing video. So we had a few video interviews. And then the next year, 2013, I don't think Elliot was able to go. So I know I've covered Gen Con by myself at least twice. And I got to be honest, I don't recall if I went to Gen Con in 2013. I may not have. And then from 2014 till now, I have covered every Gen Con. And of course, 2020, we didn't have a Gen Con. But if anybody's got questions about Gen Con, you can fire away. So the Madman says they got syphilis at Dragon Con once, gave it to the wife when they got home. A stuffed, the hell, syphilis spaghetti. I am not sure how that's pronounced. I'm going to take a guess. It's kind of like probably it's a component or whatever. Yeah, I saw the syphilis at Dragon Con. I'm like, okay, so there's more to it than this. I know that's not going to be, well, yeah, I know I really got syphilis and gave it to my wife. That's why you guys never see me out in public because my nose is gone. Yes, the plush microbe type toys. So let's see other things at Gen Con. I'm not going to really repeat the story how I almost got killed. So somebody ran a light, smashed into a car, and both of them came right at me. And I was able to move far enough out of the way that they did not hit me, although I got pelted with debris and a couple of cuts on my leg because I was wearing shorts. But that's why when I did my tips for enjoying Gen Con, one of the major tips I shared was stay alert. Always be alert of your surrounding. And Max Apocalypse says save versus collision. Yep, I made that. Made the save versus collision. Let's see. It's kind of funny because I think most of the relatively entertaining stuff that's taken place at more recent Gen Cons really don't have a lot to do with the convention. Like when Ellie and I hang out, it is just us joking around back and forth. It is a constant laugh fest. Now, that's for us. May not necessarily be for everyone else who might be around us. But we entertain the hell out of each other. So I will say that this year, when we get there on Wednesday, I'm going to make sure that I don't imbibe as much alcohol as I have in the past. And the reason why is I am now 58 years old. I really don't drink. But if I do drink, I drink. And I know it's like, oh, binge drinking. Well, if it happens like twice a year, I don't think that's that big a deal. And, I used to be able to really put the liquor away. I was a bartender for a dozen years. And I was, constantly out and about before and after that too. So, but I have noticed, like, I want to say it was about 3 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 3, maybe even 4 now. Man, it's so weird. As you get older, it's like people talk about how time flies. When I was a kid, I remember my parents talking about how, when you get older, time flies. And I was like thinking to myself, bullshit. It's like summer's never coming. It's May. Are we ever going to get out of school? Though I liked school, but I still like summer vacation better. Anyway, I like, yeah, right. No, yeah, when you get older, you're like, yeah, that's true. It's like, wow, that was 2 years ago? It was like, seriously? I thought it was like 5 months back. Anyway, I got together with Stephen Bonacore, the podfather of gaming, I think is what he goes by now, when he was, the owner of Stronghold Games. And he invited a few of us out to a wine bar. And I really am not a big wine drinker. So, wasting expensive wine on me, well, actually, providing me with expensive wine is kind of a waste because I don't appreciate it like I should. So I was just drinking vodka and cranberry for about 5 hours. And then I get back to the hotel and I was like, I woke up the next day and I was like, oh. And it had been the Wednesday night. So it was like the first day of Gen Con. And I was just like, oh, I feel awful. Last year, Elliot and I went and we enjoyed some adult beverages pretty heavily on Wednesday when we got down there. And it wasn't as bad, but Thursday morning I woke up and I was kind of like, yeah, kind of just dragging ass most of the day. So Miss Sarah D is calling it an evening. Well, thank you for hanging with us, and I will see you when I return from Gen Con. So our next live stream will not be until August. Of course, I'll probably share a recap of our Gen Con experience. Max Apocalypse asks if I have ever LARPed. I have not. I have gone to a couple of LARPs and then did not take part. So, just wasn't really my thing. Now, if LARPs were like what I understand True Dungeon is like, I'd be like, yeah, sweet, excellent. I saw a LARP one time, and I do believe it was Vampire the Masquerade, and it was at a convention, probably 4 years ago. It's not very long ago. And I thought it was very bizarre. Now, that's not to say that that's how it was going in that game is how LARPs are run. But I just thought it was like real, just odd. So, and I certainly wouldn't do it with like strangers. Garachi Lenny asks, what's the one Gen Con purchase you didn't make that you regret? And what was the one purchase that you regretted most? So I'll answer the second one first. As a member of the press, I don't buy stuff. Now, buying something from like when I was up in Milwaukee, I know I picked stuff up. I remember I picked up a copy of Dawn Patrol, which of course I obviously do not have any longer. But I don't recall anything that I bought that I regretted buying. Now, as far as buying something or not buying something and regretting it, you know what? I got to say no to that too. I can't think of anything, at least in recent memory, that I was like, God damn, I didn't get it. Now, there had been times Elliot couldn't make it. And Elliot asked me to see if I could pick something up for him. And I was unable to, that they had sold out for the day or they had sold out completely. So I'm sure there were times that he was disappointed about not getting something. But no, because the reality is these days, I mean, if it's something that I'm like, wow, I really want that, I can get a review copy of it. But that's something I don't do. I'm not the guy who walks up to, exhibitors and start talking to them and, put my hand out like, okay, give me stuff. And it happens a lot. I hear from exhibitors and publishers all the time. So even if it's a company that's not familiar with me and I'm just talking with them, I always make sure I give them a card. And then a lot of times they'll be like, hey, do you want a review copy or whatever? And I'll even say, well, that's not why I came over here. I mean, I'm more than happy to take a review copy, but that's not why I came by. And they're like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm giving you the review copy. Because I didn't ask for it. Max Apocalypse says they regret having bought the Everway box set at an Origins convention. Huh. I got to be honest. I don't know what the Everway game is. It's not ringing a bell. Don't know. I don't know. Then again, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's stuff that people are like, oh my God, I got to get this. Like, what was it? Disney Horrified, whatever. It's a Ravensburger game where it was Disney Villains or something like that. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get it. It's like, I'm not, for one, Disney's fine. My mom is a Disney fan, not like Elliot's a Disney fan, and his family are Disney fans. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It's not like, oh my God, I got to go get this. It's coming out. Grouchy Lenny says Haunted Mansion or Villainous. It was Villainous. So it was Disney Villainous. That seemed like everybody wanted to get their hands on. And I was just like, you know what? I think Elliot stood in line and got a copy of it. If I remember correctly. Or maybe he picked it up afterwards. So, Max Apocalypse says, Everway was a pseudo tarot card based RPG from Wizards of the Coast way back in the day. You're not missing much. All right. Thanks, Max Apocalypse. See you when I get back. Kevin R. Smith is also pointing out that Everway was WotC's first RPG. Yeah, okay. Oh, it was designed by Jonathan Tweet. Okay. Agile Monk has popped on into chat asking if I'm ready for Gen Con 2026. I have not started packing yet. I haven't started charging up the wireless microphones and stuff like that. But I will probably start doing that on Monday because Ellie and I are still going to leave early, even though he doesn't have to work. I mentioned that last week. He doesn't have to work. We don't have to be in a hotel downtown with free Wi-Fi and him logged in at like, I want to say, I think it's usually 7 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock at the latest. So we don't have to do that, but I am bringing auction stuff. And no, the auction stuff is not listed in the sale going on right now, the used game sale. So you don't have to worry about that. But I've got auction stuff, and I always look to get the auction stuff into the auction on Wednesday. So you can start bringing stuff in at noon, but you have to have a badge. And nowadays, press can't get their badges until they until like 4 o'clock. Oh, Agile Monk with a $50 super chat. A Gen Con soda fund. Well, thank you very, very much. It is vastly appreciated. Anyway, so the game plan is to get a parking spot at the hotel that the auction is held at, which is right across the street from the convention center. And I already told Elliot we can go. We can just, I guess I could say it. We can just go fuck around, go grab breakfast, or we can grab breakfast on the ride down there. And then, we're not racing around to do stuff. So we can go over to where the press room is at the convention center at about 3:30. So that way we're, first 20 people maybe getting press badges. And then we can head back over to the hotel and take the auction stuff up and get it, in there, because you have until I think 6 on Wednesday. And the reason why I aim to get it in on Wednesday is because the auction has certain times for different kinds of games. And if you end up bringing something in on Thursday, it may not actually get into the auction, or if it does get into the auction, you're looking at like Saturday. So Stephen from Roll for Combat is popping on into chat. Hey, I might as well ask Stephen right now. People were asking me if I was going to interview Professor DM about Deathbringer. And I said, well, you know what? I think that's probably going to be up to Stephen over at Roll for Combat. Because I I thought, and I think other people in chat also thought, that Professor DM is hanging out at your booth for the show. So Steven says, sure, if you want to. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm cool with that. So anyway, you know what? For some strange, Steven doesn't have a booth this year. Really? Okay. I will, the weird thing is, right, I was going to say, Steven says, send an email. We'll figure it out. Weird thing is, for some strange reason, the Roll for Combat emails from Steven, I don't get. We've kind of gone back and forth on that before. Steven said they couldn't get one. Very, very annoying. That's weird. I mean, what they didn't think you had enough points? Is that what the deal was? Because there's this is a little inside baseball for everybody, but there's like a point system with Gen Con. So if you got a lot of points, you get a shot at the the good real estate. If you don't, they try to shove you into what I always refer to as the dirt mall, which they've sort of alleviated. They've put some other, well-known companies into this little side area that, funny enough, the first year they did it, it was like weird. It was like the lights were dimmer in there. That's why I started calling it the Dirt Mall, because it was like, okay, so all these, big name publishers, and then you cross over the threshold and it was like 5-6 aisles of companies you would never heard of. And like the lighting was like, a lot lower. And it was like, what the hell's going on here? Yes. The Mamhead says, I don't know what Steven's referring to as far as language. There are veterans here. We don't understand what you mean. Edge Monk said they got Dan to talk about Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey and other key books to read tonight. That's pretty wild. Yes, so Steven says, yeah, it's that stupid point system. Yes, and then it's sort of like, I don't know if it's still the case, but if you don't exhibit 1 year, I don't think it wipes out all your points, but I think they deduct points from your score. It's the only convention I've heard that's less inviting for the exhibitors is Comic-Con out in San Diego. Oh my gosh, I've heard some stories about that. Just crazy. All right, everybody. So kind of a long show tonight. I guess I really didn't share as many stories about Gen Con as I thought I would. But it's my favorite convention. I always have a good time. I have, knock on wood, I have never run across anybody who gave me a hard time or, got into an argument with me or anything like that. Yes, granted, sometimes people are too self-absorbed and they're not paying attention to where they're walking, or they open a door and you're right behind them and they don't bother holding the door. But that's not a huge deal. People are there to have a good time. The vast majority of people that I've ever encountered at Gen Cons throughout the years are not there to ruin anybody else's good time. So, Grouchy Lenny says all their drinking stories are from Chaosium Con. That's a proper bar con. Any convention can be a proper bar con if you're with the right crowd. Because there are, like, in, publishers, there are certain publishers who, the movers and shakers enjoy their adult beverages. And then there's others who are like, oh, Dick's Last Resort. Oh, I can't go into that place. That's just the name. All right. Anyway, so no live streams next week, but you will see interviews from Gen Con popping up. I am going to try to get maybe 3-4 reviews out there over the next few days. And then you are going to have the interviews. I am going to try, I can't guarantee this, but I am going to try to get the interviews up the day after. So the interviews I do on Thursday should have up on Friday, because I do not tend to edit my interviews. I might overlay some B footage or whatever, B-roll, you know, but for the most part, I'm not going to, I don't sit there and like, oh no, okay. Whatever comes out of somebody's mouth, that's, you know, that's it. So Steven said, just wrote me an email. Hopefully I get this one. If not, I will email you from my Gmail so we can line something up. All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening, afternoon, morning, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. If you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, you get a tip of the cap, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or tackling a topic, what have you. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate you taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. Now, of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, be sure to select all notifications, because that way YouTube is supposed to not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It's also supposed to inform you when I share other videos, such as my recent review of Call of Cthulhu Innsmouth from Chaosium Inc. That just came out in stores yesterday. So I will be back in early August. So it's almost 2 weeks away. So you will see me online. I will do my best to post some stuff on social media too. I know usually I go to conventions and we're just focused on either getting interviews or having fun. I don't necessarily post a lot of stuff on social media. Usually it's like when we get there, take a picture of Elliot and I hanging out, and then that's it. I will do my best to remember to post stuff on Twitter and Facebook and Blue Sky. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope each and every one of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.